What's going on, everybody? Z4 here. Welcome back to today's video. Hope you guys are having an awesome weekend. As we close out the weekend, though, I need to get this video to you guys because next week, I'm going to say Tuesday, Wednesday, we are going to be starting the 32-team 7-round mock draft series. It is back for the third year in a row. I'll let you know right now, though, it's not just going to be mock draft spam. Some days, the mock draft will be the only video you get. Most days, I'm going to try to make it so that it's a double upload. You get a mock draft and some sort of like a rebuild or franchise mode or something in between like that to keep it, keep it fresh on the channel. But before we jump into that mock draft series, I need to give out my final positional rankings. And the last time I gave you my positional rankings, it was before the Senior Bowl. So since then, we've had the Senior Bowl, we've had the Combine, we've had some about half of the Pro Days. So I feel really comfortable with these rankings. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I've been on the fence with some players, and while I was like making like the Photoshop graphics for this, I've decided to just say screw it. Let's stick my neck on the line for some of these players and really, vote my confidence as to why they are better than some maybe more well-known players, guys that are constantly mocked higher than them. I took a limb on a couple players. So without further ado, let's jump into my quarterback rankings. Now, I could go on and on about these rankings and go super in depth, but by now you know my opinion on almost all of these players, so I'm just going to run through the rankings so you guys have a good basis for this mock draft series, and I'll throw in a little tidbits here and there. So starting with the quarterbacks, at number 10 we have Jarrett Stidham from Auburn. At number 9, Brett Rippon from Boise State. At number 8, Ryan Finley from NC State. And at number 7 we have Easton Stick from North Dakota State. We'll stop right here because that's kind of like one tier. We'll call that tier, I don't want to say tier 1, but that's just a grouping. Those are the guys that I think will most likely go on day 3, but will have a legitimate shot at landing on a final 53 as a backup. And hey, they might have a nice career as a backup, small-time spot starter here and there in the National Football League. Then at number 6, we have Will Grier from West Virginia. I think he's kind of a tweener. Like for my pro comp for him, I did give Kirk Cousins. I think Will Grier could have a Kirk Cousins-like career. Go and get drafted as a backup, and then, if he has to come in relief duty due to injury or whatever, he might be able to earn a starting job and run from there. So I kind of see that that's Will Grier's ceiling. At number 5, we have Daniel Jones from Duke. At number 4, Drew Lock from Missouri. Those are two names that you guys have probably seen in a lot of first rounds for mock drafts. I think that's much more a telling tale of the weakness of the QB class there, not so much a roaring review of Daniel Jones and Drew Lock as QB prospects. I think both those guys could potentially be starters in the National Football League, but ideally as rookies, they will get drafted and sit behind an established veteran. But those guys will probably still cost you maybe a first round, if not a second round pick. Like you'll see Daniel Jones and Drew Lock probably consistently mocked to like the Denver Broncos or the Miami Dolphins or like a Patriots or something late in the first round. But here we go. Here's our first one that, stands out for my rankings, and that is Tyree Jackson at number 3. And the reason why I put him right after Daniel Jones and Drew Lock is I think Tyree Jackson is very similar to Jones and Drew Lock. I think the best case scenario, he'll drafted and he'll go sit behind an established veteran. But I think Tyree Jackson's going to cost you like a 3rd or a 4th round pick versus Drew Lock and or Daniel Jones, which will be a 1st or like an early 2nd. I think Tyree Jackson, we'll just say right now, he'll be a late 3rd round pick. Give me that every day of the week over any quarterback in this draft class. It is a very weak QB class. I would not want to send personally a first round quarterback on any QB in this year's class, but if I did, give me Tyree Jackson III over, say, Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins, who we have at number 2 and number 1. So for that, I'm kind of making a stand and putting Tyree into my top 5, whereas you look around, most mock draft sites have Tyree Jackson, anywhere between 6 and 10. So rounding out the list, we have Kyler Murray at number 2 and Dwayne Haskins at number 1. I mean, everyone knows Dwayne Haskins pretty much QB1, I feel. And then for Kyler Murray, I'm really not a fan of how he's come off like a diva this offseason. Once he finally chose football, I mean, he had opportunity at the Combine to show off his athleticism, showing off his game-breaking ability, and compete with the other quarterbacks in the throwing drills. And instead, he decides to wait to his pro day, and then at his pro day, decides not to run any drills and just throw very safe, within his comfort zone, scripted passes, which I was like, I don't know, man. It rubbed me the wrong way. He definitely is coming off like a diva. And for Kyler Murray, for a quarterback that had a lot more questions than answers coming in this offseason, he had an opportunity to answer a lot of those questions. And instead, we have even more questions. And it's not, anything other than the actions that Kyler Murray has done this offseason. So for that, slightly sour on him, but a very electrifying player. And hey, he actually could end up going number 1 to the Arizona Cardinals. So those are my QB rankings. Moving on to the running backs here, we have at number 10, Devin Singletary from Florida Atlantic. Did not have a great combine, but the tape still is very good. At number 9, we have Travion Williams from Texas A&M. At number 8, we have Benny Snell from Kentucky. At number 7, Damian Harris from Alabama. Number 6, Miles Sanders from Penn State. Had an outstanding combine. And you know, you look at the tape, it is very good. And he does not have a whole lot of miles on him because he was Saquon Barkley's backup. I think you're getting a nice little value pick there in Miles Sanders, probably round 3, maybe sneaks into round 2. At number 5, we have Darrell Henderson from Memphis. At number 4, Justice Hill from Oklahoma State. Monster combine. I mean, the only concern about Justice Hill was, can he, be strong enough? He was like the, 180, 185-pound running back and was a speedster. And that, those guys are running back by committees. And then he comes in 10 pounds heavier than expected, has a very strong bench press, and just very, very quick. One of the fastest, what is it, 4.40? I think he's going to be a really, really intriguing back. At number 3, we have Rodney Anderson from Oklahoma. If he didn't have the injury concerns, I think he would be the best running back in this year's draft class. So because of the injury concerns, because he probably will get drafted like 4th round, 5th round, somewhere in that territory, it's going to be a gamble. But I think if he can stay healthy, it will play out very well for the team that drafts him. At number 2, we have David Montgomery from Iowa State. Didn't have an amazing combine, but again, kind of like Devin Singletary, tape don't lie. He is an exceptional running back. And then at number 1, we have Josh Jacobs from Alabama. Not a lot of tread on the tire. Maybe some questions about, the production because he, obviously loaded backfield there in Alabama. But when you look at the tape, I mean, he's an excellent blocker. He can catch. He's great between the tackles, hard-nosed runner, pretty much your prototypical running back. And with Rodney Anderson having those injury concerns, I think that is a huge, huge plus for Josh Jacobs in getting drafted very high. Will he go in the 1st round? I don't necessarily know about that, but he's really good. And personally, for me, I would take him in the 2nd. Moving on to our wide receivers. And if you notice, I'm not giving you out my honorable mentions because that's I'm going to be listing a lot of guys that I do like if I did that. I want to keep kind of the mock draft, maybe a little bit of a surprise to you guys for some of the names that your team may be getting. So we're just doing top 10s. And at number 10 for our wide receivers, we have Stanley Morgan Jr. from Nebraska. Tested well at the combine. He's that wow human highlight reel catchability. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. Originally wasn't going to put him in my top 10, and I said screw it. I think he's really, really good. He made the list. At number 9, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside from Stanford, big-time possession wide receiver. Number 8, Andy Isabella from UMass, the speedster. Number 7, Kelvin Harmon from NC State. Number 6, Hakeem Butler from Iowa State. I was one of the first people, at least, I guess you could say YouTube community, people that talk about the draft on YouTube, to start pounding the drum for Hakeem Butler. Tested very, very well at the combine. If he can just get a little bit more consistent with his hands, not as many drops, he could be even higher. Number 5, we have Deebo Samuel from South Carolina. I actually had Deebo at number 3, but man, the more and more I just tried to watch his tape and stuff like that, the more and more I'm just like, why isn't he getting talked about? Oh, because of the injuries. And I personally feel like he will have that injury-prone tag. And I didn't want to knock him much further over the top 5 because we had, for example, the running backs, Rodney Anderson pretty high, and he has an injury tag. So I didn't want to hurt him too much. But if Deebo was completely healthy, I think he would be definitely consensus top 3. But because of the injury concerns, only really going to knock him down 1 or 2 spots. Still, I would absolutely, for Philadelphia, for example, we still need a wide receiver. I'd love Deebo on the team. Number 4, we have Marquise Hollywood Brown from Oklahoma, the speedster. Number 3, we have A.J. Brown from Ole Miss. Ole Miss prospects very, very fast at the combine, and A.J. Brown impressive with his 40-yard dash time. I thought the biggest concern about his game was his ability to get separation at the next level because he could get it consistently enough in college, but I thought he would just be pigeonholed as a slot wide receiver. Showed off that speed at the combine, and it's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to buy in on A.J. Brown's stock, and I'm going to put him at 3. Number 2, we've N'Keal Harry from Arizona State, and at number 1, Mr. DK Metcalf from Ole Miss. I'm Team DK Metcalf all damn day. He's Josh Gordon 2.0 without the drug issues. And if you can get a wide receiver coach that can have any sort of form on shaping this man into a route runner, you have a potential top 5 wide receiver on your hands. Going into tight ends. All right, at number 10, we have Foster Moreau from LSU. I don't think out of all these tight ends, anyone improved their draft stock, in my opinion, than him. Kind of came in as a blocker, and he was very, very good at the combine in the receiving drills. I was absolutely impressed. He has a prototypical size. And you know what? I'm buying on Foster Moreau's stock right now. At number 9, we have Dax Raymond from Utah State. Number 8, Josh Oliver from San Jose State. Number 7, Dawson Knox from Ole Miss. At number 6, Caleb Wilson from UCLA. So pretty much all of those receivers are like your prototypical, this guy is not really a tight end. He is much more of just like a glorified wide receiver playing the position. But that's kind of what the the offenses of today's NFL are going towards, and those guys will get drafted. At number 5, we have Caden Smith from Stanford. I'm not gonna lie, overly impressed, but he's just solid enough. He's a good, decent receiver. Like, he's the jack of all trades, master of none. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And, just an average athlete, but he has everything. He ticks all the boxes for a guy that will just stick around on teams' rosters. And there's that upside. I mean, obviously from tight end in Caden Smith, but, it was just too hard for me not to put him within the top 5 because of that potential. But I'm not going to lie, he's probably, out of all these rankings, the one prospect that I have as a top 5 prospect that I don't really know. But then outside of that, Jay Sternberger at number 4 from Texas A&M. Really, really high on him. I think he's a tremendous receiver. Number 3, Irv Smith Jr. from Alabama. You can play tight end, H-back, very, really hybrid. I think he's going to be a perfect fit for, say, New England. And at number 2 and number 1, we have the Iowa tandem. First up, we have TJ Hawkinson at 2 and Noah Fant at number 1. They're really a 1A, 1B. Depends what kind of team you're looking for. If you're a team that wants that wide receiver glorified playing tight end, then you're going to want Noah Fant at number 1. But if you want that more complete tight end, you're going to want TJ Hawkinson at number 1. So in reality, they're both number 1. It's just what are you looking for? Because for the 2 different styles of tight ends, they are the best in the class. Moving from tight ends to the offense, we'll start at tackle. And starting at number 10 at tackle, we have Titus Howard from Alabama State. Number 9, Bobby Evans from Oklahoma. Number 8, Caleb McGarry from Washington. Number 7, David Edwards from Wisconsin. Number 6, Yodny Kajust from West Virginia. Kind of struggled a little bit at the Senior Bowl. Did not really look overly impressive at the combine. Just ran drills, but tape still looks pretty sound. At number 5, we have Dalton Risner from Kansas State. Number 4, Greg Little from Ole Miss. Did not have a great combine, so slipped just a little bit. Number 3, Andre Dillard from Washington State. Had an outstanding combine. Number 2, Jawan Taylor from Florida. Also had an outstanding combine. And at number 1, we have Jonah Williams from Alabama. There are some murmurs that you might want to move him to the inside of the offensive line. I think either way, guard or tackle, Jonah Williams is going to be a long-term starter in the National Football League. And because of that value, I have him as my number 1 tackle. Going to the interior of the offensive line, we have at number 10, Ben Powers from Oklahoma. Number 9, Connor McGovern from Penn State. Number 8, Bo Benchwale from Wisconsin. Number 7, Drew Samia from Oklahoma. Number 6, Eldon Jenkins from Mississippi State. This guy plays everywhere. Plays center, even though this list here is just a combination of guards and centers. Eldon Jenkins also has some experience playing tackle. Same goes with number 5 and Michael Dieter from Wisconsin. Can play everywhere on the offensive line, and that kind of versatility is going to get him drafted, I think, on day 2. Number 4, we have Eric McCoy from Texas A&M. I was higher on him than most coming into this offseason process, and he stood out at the Senior Bowl. Looked really, really good at the scouting combine. I think he has a legitimate shot to go somewhere later in the second round. And then through the 3 prospects left, all 3 I think are going to be first rounders. We have at number 3, Chris Lindstrom, guard from Boston College. Number 2, center Garrett Bradbury from NC State. Dominate the combine. And then at number 1, we have Cody Ford from Oklahoma. I think he can play guard and or tackle. I just figure we'll just put him here at guard because I think he's going to be a little bit more versatile to teams, grading him as a guard. And then you have the upside that he might be able to swing out to tackle. But I'm a huge fan of Cody Ford. And obviously, people know I'm an Eagle fan. Out of all the players in this year's draft class that can realistically go to the Eagles at 25, I'm not going to say Nick Bosa is an Eagle guy. But guys that aren't consensus top 10. I think Christian Wilkins and Cody Ford are the 2 most prototypical Eagle players. So, very excited. One of those guys just so happens to be there at 25. Jumping in on the defensive side, we have interior. So this is going to be your defensive linemen, D tackles, 3-4 DEs. At number 10, we have Kalen Saunders from Western Illinois. Number 9, Gerald Willis III from Miami, formerly a Florida Gator. Number 8, Draymond Jones from Ohio State. Number 7, Charles Amenahu from Texas. He is going to be more so a 3-4 defensive end. At number 6, Jerry Tillery from Notre Dame. Number 5, Jeffrey Simmons from Mississippi State. Yeah, he has the off the field. Yeah, he has a torn ACL, but we're still grading this on pure talent. And Jeffrey Simmons is absolutely a top 5 defensive lineman in this year's draft class. At number 4, we have Dexter Lawrence from Clemson. I'm higher on him than most. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have the greatest set of pass rushing moves, but he's an athletic freak. I think he's going to be incredibly versatile for whatever scheme you want to run. Number 3, you have Christian Wilkins from Clemson. Number 2, we have Quinnen Williams from Alabama. And number 1, the hill that I am going to die on for this year's draft class, Ed Oliver at number 1. I've actually seen a lot of mock drafts having him fall to the Philadelphia Eagles at 25. I don't know what planet that is because Ed Oliver is the best player in this year's draft class. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm someone that hates salads. Absolutely hates salads. Garbage. It's goddamn lawn clippings. So you just mowed the lawn and then you start and eat it. If Philadelphia drafts Ed Oliver, I'm going to live stream myself eating 3 salads. And I despise salads. But Ed Oliver, for me, best player in the draft and the best defensive lineman. Jumping to the edge rusher rankings now. Again, this is the strength of the draft D-line. Edge We're going to jump in at number 10. We have Anthony Nelson from Iowa. At number 9, Chase Vinovich from Michigan. Number 8, Joe Jackson from Miami. Number 7, Ja'Kai Polite from Florida. Had a pretty negative combine. Did not test particularly well. Came in a little bit heavy. Reports are that Polite kind of bombed in his interviews. So went from a guy that was going like mid-first round. He might slip into the second. Number 6, we have Montez Sweat from Mississippi State. There's actually a report that dropped today that he might have a heart condition, which, I mean, that we saw what happened with Mo Hurst last year. Mo Hurst, defensive tackle from Michigan, consensus first rounder, had the heart condition, slipped to what, the 4th or 5th round, and went to the Raiders, and they got an absolute steal there. So I would hate to see the same thing happen to Montez Sweat, but it is definitely something to worth monitor. Number 5, we have Rashawn Gary from Michigan. Dominate the combine, you know, very, very scheme flexible, but just hasn't been able to put it on the field in terms of production. Number 4, Clelin Ferrell from Clemson. Number 3, Brian Burns from Florida State. Number 2, Josh Allen from Kentucky. It's really a tie for me right now. It's really what scheme you want to run. If you're a 3-4 team, Josh Allen is number 2. If you're a 4-3 team, Brian Burns is number 2. So I'm really high on both these guys. Very, very excited to see where they both land. I think Josh Allen is an exceptional 3-4 player. Brings that coverage ability that not enough people are talking about. Trust me, I saw it firsthand against Florida. And then Brian Burns, man, you know, one of those things, just so lean, such a freak athlete. And there was weight concerns. And he came in at like almost 250 pounds, which is prototypical size, which surprised everyone. And he still was incredibly agile and dominant and showed off that athleticism. I think someone's going to get a steal. I think Brian Burns might have a shot at going within the top 5. And then clearly Nick Bosa at number 1. He's as safe of a player, as complete of a player in this year's draft class. And behind Ed Oliver as my number 2 overall player. Moving back in the front 7, we're going to take a look at the linebackers. And at number 10, we have Gary Johnson from Texas. Had a very, very good combine. Showed off great sideline-to-sideline ability with that fast speed. And he fits that mold, the prototype that teams are looking for in linebackers. Number 9, Terrell Hanks from New Mexico State. Actually, if you're just looking at it on paper, you'll say this guy had a horrible combine, but his 40-yard dash time and stuff like that, he was hurt a little bit, and definitely keep an eye on a pro day. Number 8, we have Blake Cashman from Minnesota. Number 7, Bobby Okereke from Stanford. Number 6, TJ Edwards from Wisconsin. Big fan of TJ Edwards. Had a decent pro day. The tape is very, very good. Number 5, Jermaine Pratt from NC State. Number 4, Voshawn Joseph from Florida. Number 3, Mac Wilson from Alabama. And then number 2, we have Devin Bush from Michigan. And number 1, Devin White from LSU. I think Bush and White, the two Devins, are probably the only two linebackers in this class that I think I feel comfortable giving a first-round grade. But there still is some pretty good value. I know a lot of people are thinking the linebackers are the weakest position in this year's draft class. But honestly, for me, Philadelphia is looking for linebacking depth. Any of these 10 guys would be, pretty satisfactory picks for me as a team that is in dire need of a linebacker. Next up, moving to the corners. All right, number 10, we have Trayvon Mullen from Clemson. I'm not going to lie, he might benefit from moving to safety, but he's a corner right now, and we'll put him at number 10 from the traits and athletic standpoint alone. Number 9, we have Jimmy Moreland from James Madison, an exceptional slot corner. Number 8, Jojuan Williams from Vandy. Number 7, David Long from Michigan. Very, very good combine. Stood to me. Probably my biggest riser out of any player from the combine. Number 6, we have Julian Love from Notre Dame. Number 5, Rock Ya-Sin from Temple. Number 4, Amani Oruwariye from Penn State. Number 3, DeAndre Baker from Georgia. Number 2, Byron Murphy from Washington. And at number 1, as always, Greedy Williams from LSU. In terms of first-round prospects, probably the first 5 could be considered first-round players. I think first 4 should be a lock to go in the first round. Greedy Williams and Byron Murphy are really class 1. And then you start looking at Baker, Oruwariye, Rock Ya-Sin, Julian Love. Those guys are all kind of scheme fits. But, they do have a lot of upside. I think will be productive players in the National Football League for years to come. And then finishing up here in the secondary with the safeties. At number 10, we have Jaquan Johnson from Miami. Number 9, Ugo Amadi from Oregon. Number 8, Amani Hooker from Iowa. That's really kind of like a separate tier. I think those guys there are going to go late day 2, early day 3. But the top 7 are very, very legit. An incredibly strong safety class. And I think everyone in the top 7 should go within the first and second round. Number 7, we have Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State, big-time hitter. Number 6, Juan Thornhill from Virginia, had an exceptional combine, great cover player. Number 5, Nasir Adderley from Delaware. Number 4, Deontay Thompson from Alabama. Number 3, Taylor Rapp from Washington, a little bit of an old-school style safety. Number 2, probably maybe my biggest, I'm going to reach on a guy because I believe in him, I see it, and I don't know why everyone else isn't. I have Darnell Savage Jr. from Maryland, tested very, very well at the combine. Big hitter, can cover. He is he's perfect. He's a perfect safety. And number 1, we have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from Florida. I've been saying it all goddamn year. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's best safety. When everyone was on Deontay Thompson, and then from Deontay Thompson, they were like, oh, no, it's all about Nasir Adderley. No, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been day 1 since day 1. He played cornerback at a high level. He played safety at a high level. He played money backer at a high level. He can do it all. He's the jack of all trades, master of a lot on the defensive side. So if I'm needing a safety, Two guys that aren't getting enough credit. I mean, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's starting to build a little bit more momentum, but him and Darnell Savage sign me up every day of the week. So there you go, guys. Those are my updated rankings, just to give you guys a little bit of preview of what is going to come in the 32-team 7-round mock draft. If you guys agree or disagree with any of the ratings you decided today, let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you pound the table for your guy if I was underrating them or didn't even rate them in the top 10, for them to maybe get a chance to get drafted to your team when we do that new 32-team mock draft series. But as always, guys, thank you for watching today's video. It's your first time stopping by, and say you wanna, stick around for that new mock draft series, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed it. Until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.